Good afternoon to you all. I'm Anne-Sophie Bradel. I will be moderating this press conference between Josef Aschbacher, Director General of the European Space Agency, and Lionel Suchet, Executive Vice President of CNES. Our two speakers will start with preliminary remarks, and then we will give you the floor for questions. So, without further ado, I leave the floor to Dr. Josef Aschbacher, the ESA Director General.
So thank you, and very warm welcome also from my side. This is a very nice moment where, together with CNES and with Lionel Suchet, we have this small press conference. It's also a symbol that the European Space Agency and the French Space Agency CNES are working very well together. This chalet which we have put together is, I think, a symbol of how close CNES and ESA are working together. And as we are celebrating our 50th birthday of ESA and the headquarters of ESA being in France, this is one more moment that we should celebrate what we do and, of course, describe some of our activities. On the side of ESA, we have just published a strategy, 2040, which was elaborated together with the member states, which shows into the medium to long-term future of where we believe that space in Europe should be heading. Of course, as you all know, the geopolitical context is changing very quickly and very drastically. And that means that we are reflecting with our member states, with France, with all the other member states, on where and how Europe should position itself in this new geopolitical context, which has new challenges for us, as we know. I enjoy the flights, but it's very good. Also, the special guest of CNES is Germany this year, and I'm very happy. I'm very happy to say that the ministerial conference this year is taking place in Bremen in Germany, which of course is a very important milestone for space in Europe, for the European Space Agency, and for all of us.
I'm sorry, we'll interrupt just a second. It was supposed to be at 3:30, so they're a little bit in advance.
So where do we stand? And I will just make sure that we have time for discussion.
I think if you... If you don't mind, I suggest we reconvene in several minutes when it will be over, because obviously there is difficulty to hear Dr. Aschbacher and Lionel Suchet. So if you don't mind, we pause for a second and then we'll come back. We are back, and we have 15 minutes. Then we will have the Eurofighter, so we'll have to wait for another 10 minutes, and then we will take the questions. So I'm sorry for that. So without any further ado, I leave you the floor again.
So thank you. This was quite interesting, actually. It's the Rafale you have seen, and you might know that one of our ESA astronauts, Arnaud Prost, is also a pilot of Rafale. It was not him flying there, but of course you see that our astronauts are really, really cool people, and just very, very timely here. So coming back to the messages of before. So I'm not repeating what I said, just to say that this is really a very good occasion where CNES and ESA together, as we see in this exhibition hall, are giving this press conference, also to underline the very close relationship we have. France was at the very origins of ESA. We are celebrating 50 years now, and we are really having, I would say, almost all the projects that we implement in the European Space Agency are with very strong, very clear French support and activities. So what is the international context? We have a very challenging geopolitical situation. This is something that we reflect very closely with our member states. We just had an ESA Council a few days ago, and we have been discussing on where and what will be the impact of the US budget decisions. Of course, we all know they are preliminary, they are proposals at this point, they are not yet decided, but certainly something where we need to make sure that Europe is well positioned in terms of its independence. In terms of space transportation, I'd like to underline Europe is back. We had successful launches of Ariane 6 and Vega C, 2 launches each last year and this year. But also in parallel, we prepare the future with the new micro-launcher project. So we have just closed the competition for the European Launcher Challenge. And again, there we are in the midst of the preparations for the ministerial, how we proceed. In science, Europe is a trusted partner that delivers when teaming up with other countries. And Europe is also leading excellent scientific missions such as Solar Orbiter, which got the world's very first view of the sun's poles just a few days ago. Also in Earth observation, we are delivering regularly data, and we will introduce biomass first images at the Living Planet Symposium in a few days from today. What is very important is that international collaboration remains a pillar of ESA. We have just recently concluded or signed statements with different agencies and organizations worldwide. I have, with Canada, reaffirmed our strong partnership. Canada is a cooperating state of ESA. Also with India, we have signed a joint statement of intent, and with Japan, also a very strong collaboration, a very strong agreement for future cooperations in different domains. This is something that ESA will further pursue. It is fully in line with our strategy 2040 and something where I'm sure we will find new upcoming opportunities. The Ministerial Council at the end of the year is a key milestone, and I would like to make sure that Europe is positioned strong and very well in order to make sure that autonomy, independence is further increased. Maybe a small comment I would like to mention. This afternoon, right after this press conference, we will release the first Prober 3 images at the ESA stand, and tomorrow our Technology Directorate will unveil the strategy for 2030 from a strategy point of view, and on Wednesday the Commissioner for Space and Defense, Mr. Kubilius, will be at our booth at a joint press conference between the European Space Agency and the European Commission. Thank you.
Lionel Suchet.
Thank you. Merci Joseph. Thanks a lot. And bon anniversaire, Joseph. Yes, what I want to add is just because you said a lot of things, that the geopolitical context is evolving. And of course, we have all in mind the political change and decision and position at ESA, at NASA level. We will speak about that for the question, I think, but it is not only that. The main evolution, I think, is evolution, the strong evolution of space everywhere in the world, because space is for sure more and more a tool for science, for knowledge, but also a very powerful tool for defense. And a lot of countries understood that and developed a lot their defense systems in space. And it became also a very, very powerful tool for economic growth of all the country. And so from something which was some years ago, something good, interesting, efficient, preparing the future, it is now becoming a must for our societies. And so all the countries are pushing a lot to develop their space economy and their space activities. I think, of course, of the US, but China, India, a lot of countries and new countries, the Emirates and so on around the world are pushing a lot. And so Europe has everything in its hand, I think, not only to react, and I hear sometimes, what is a reaction of Europe towards this and this? Not only to react, but to act. We have all tools in hand to act efficiently. We have an ecosystem very rich and diverse. We are pushing a lot also to develop it. Imagine some Bourget ago, the same situation. We had the last Bourget, one pavilion for CNES, one pavilion for ESA, and it was almost all. That's it. And now you see this huge pavilion with a lot of actors, and I don't want to say new actors, because of course there are a lot of new actors, but we have also traditional actors all working together to develop the space of tomorrow, and as agencies, we push a lot. And we have to understand that the competition, if any competition it is not within Europe, it's between Europe and other countries. And so we have to be strong in Europe to work together with ESA, with the space agencies, national agencies. That is why also we decided to have Germany, as you said, at the guest house of this Bourget, because it's important to be strong and to work together strongly in Europe to develop space for tomorrow. And just to say that we have everything in hand. If you visit our stand, just a few examples what you can see. Of course, Ariane 6, you said it, with the return of flight of Ariane 6 and Vega C, but Callisto also, a demonstrator to prepare the reusability of launchers, CSO, which is a wonderful satellite for the military purpose, and dual activities is more and more important, as I said, in space. IDEFIX, a rover which is ready to fly to Mars, to Phobos, a moon of Mars. Euclid telescope, you will see, scale 1. The Euclid telescope is visible. YASI-NG, a wonderful tool for meteorology. YASI is already flying on METOP, and it changed a lot the meteorology prediction, and we prepare now the new generation, which is ready also to fly soon from Kourou on a EUMETSAT mission. CNES, the first constellation for IoT from space, Internet of Things, is now in space, and we have developed and deployed 25 satellites. It's the first worldwide constellation for IoT. And Microcarb, also a satellite which will fly on Vega end of July, which will measure CO2 green gas effect from space. And it is also a very, very accurate satellite developed by CNES. So you see a lot of things with ESA, with our national agency to prepare the space of tomorrow. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Now we open the floor to questions. We might have to pause a little bit. Yes, please.
Hi, Robert Wall with Aviation Week. It's for CNES, I guess. The question is, at the NATO summit, the countries will be asked to increase their defense spending. France isn't in the greatest financial health anyway. What is your sense? What can CNES, can France do more on space when it comes to the ministerial in Bremen this November?
About NATO, you maybe know that we have the Center of Expertise of NATO in Toulouse, which is coming from space activities. So we are active and working a lot with Commandement de l'Espace, which is also in CNES, with the Center of Expertise for NATO, for space. So it is an important topic for us. Generally speaking, about the budget, yes, we have in Europe, not the only one with the difficulties of budget, but the difficulty of budget is a general difficulty, and I think it's a political decision to take, to make priorities and to know what to do with the budget we have. And this is also a political decision to say, with what I described all around the world, with people and countries pushing a lot, what is the situation for Europe and for France in this situation? So yes, we have budget difficulties, I think, in France, but also in other countries. And it's just a political decision to make the priorities and the group priorities. And I'm not the one to say that, but I think space is one of the priorities where we must put money.
Yes, please. Can you state your name and your media outlet?
I will do that. Peter Deselding, Space Intel Report. Can you hear me, Lionel? Good. So to go further into that, ESA's proposal to the ministerial in November now includes a big item called resilience from space. That it's yes, okay. That this, as you know, the European Commission wants very much for ESA to start this, and then they will take over part of their funding in 2028. It's a very big program that Josef has in mind. It's around €1 billion now. What do you think of this? CNES has satellite builders that would like to build new satellites, and CNES has satellite service operators that would like maybe this program to use already commercially available satellites with high resolution. What are your initial thoughts on this program?
As I said, space becomes more and more important for defense, and it is not only important. I think it's a must, and military people will say that it's changed, in fact, the art of the war, as they said. So space is more and more needed for security and defense. So I think it's normal that the European Commission, the European Union, is working on that purpose and proposing, thinking about the development of a constellation. We are talking about that for resilience and for Earth observation, and not only for defense. The question is how to involve ESA in that. Is it an initiative of ESA, of the European Commission? Or we think, but we discussed a lot with Josef about that it must be it's a very political decision. It must be at European level. And then it's normal that a European level work with ESA to develop the system. But to develop a system, to develop a complex system, we don't begin by doing satellites and by billions of euros with things. We begin with, as we said in space, phase zero, FASA, so to understand the needs of the users, to put money on the table to begin the studies, to begin to deal with technical aspects, to de-risk technical aspects, but not to build the constellation by itself. And we work with ESA on that work, how they work with the European Commission, how we work with the European Commission to think about what can be used, can be developed at the first time, and then to develop it. That's the way we want to see it.
Another question from the floor, please.
I'm waiting for
Any further questions? Yes, Antoine?
Antoine Meunier, La Chronique Spatiale. Regarding CM25, can you give us maybe a first estimation of what will be demand to the member states?
Yeah, this is, we are in the midst of preparations. As I said, we had last week a very important meeting with our member states. Today, the figure is somewhere between 22, 23 billion that we are discussing. That means this is all the programs, the mandatory activities and the optional programs. But I would like to underline that 80% of our proposals is optional programs, and each member state can subscribe as they see fit or as they are interested. So even if the proposal is a certain number, the subscription itself, of course, is then chosen by each of the member states according to their priorities. Yes, I know, and I've heard some of you describing this as a large increase, but I think today we have, as never before in our history, at least in the recent history, extremely strong arguments why space is required for society. On one side is an economic segment which grows very fast, has services for its citizens. On the other side, giving a new geopolitical context that independence and autonomy are key drivers, and we hear and we see this very clearly. And I have to say that member states, there's one of them sitting next to me, but everyone is saying Europe has to reinforce its strength, its activities, not to isolate, but to be a good partner also internationally and, of course, within Europe.
I think, yes, I'm not sure we're going to hear you, but we can try.
So the question for Aschbacher is twofold. Given the situation in the US, two questions. A, have you actually heard from NASA? And B, have you paused any ESA activities because of the uncertainty of the US budget situation?
So I'm waiting for the plane to, yes, we have heard from NASA. In fact, this morning we had a meeting with the NASA leadership, and we are in close and constant dialogue. it is very clear that some of the proposals made are having significant impacts. But I can say that we are really in good exchange. And the second question, sorry, whether we have paused anything. No, for the time being. For the time being, we proceed. Of course, the NASA budget decision is only expected in fall. So therefore, we have to wait for the decisions to materialize before we can make any decisions on our side. So yes, we proceed cautiously and carefully. We prepare backups and options as required. But we only will, of course, change course once the final decisions are made.
Just the same for us, and we have of course, activity via ESA and also bilateral cooperation with NASA. The information we have for sure is not good at all. So we are reliable partners, and we are committed. So we don't stop anything before the information will be official. But for sure, we are preparing Plan B if the information we have become a reality, because it may impact a lot our programs. And we have Plan Bs.
Okay, Lionel, hi.
We have 10 more minutes, so I don't know if you want to wait 10 minutes. Maybe you can tell...
I have to keep on pushing. All right, so Lionel, just to refine what you said earlier about this resilience constellation, you mean you need the European Council to have a written resolution in favor of it before you think ESA should go forward with a full-scale constellation? Is that what you said? You need the EU Council to stamp this in Brussels before ESA should pick it up as a big program?
Not before the very beginning of the things. I think we can prepare things, but prepare things, that means not developing the constellation, but de-risking technology and preparing possibilities or to open the possibilities as we do in a phase 0, for instance. And then we will have the decision at you to develop the constellation.
There's one question.
Just a follow-up. Frédéric Castel, Radio-Canada. The fact that the NASA budget comes into the fall, how difficult will it be for you to take the right decision before the ministerial? Don't you have a schedule conflict here?
Yeah.
Don't you worry about the very tight window?
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. The timing of the NASA decisions and the timing of the ESA decisions, of course, is not perfectly aligned. That means that the NASA decisions or the US budget decisions we expect them to be somewhere in the fall, while on the ESA side, we are preparing the ESA ministerial now until November, when the subscriptions take place. So in a way, we can take account of last-minute changes that may occur in the NASA or be triggered from the NASA budget decisions. But of course, we are consolidating already our ministerial proposal, and therefore we are making some assumptions of increasing autonomy already now, and of course waiting for the decisions of the US government in order to be sure whether and to what extent we need to adjust our own program. There's not much time left. It will be a very intense period, but yes, end of November is our ministerial, and therefore we need to know from our side what the member states will be subscribing in terms of activities.
Is there any question left? No? Then I suggest to conclude the press conference, and thank you very much for these very difficult conditions. And I thank you for your patience. Have a very good afternoon.